And we're off to the races. Welcome to Study Hall. Who's got something?
I have refactoring Gilded Rose. Um, I just need one example,
Okay.
and I can go off to the races.
Okay.
But I was looking at it this morning, and I was like, I don't know how I would do the refactoring, just because like it feels like they all need to be their own separate statements. So I'm pulling it up right
Okay.
now, and I'll share my screen.
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right, let me see. Ubuntu is taking its sweet time. All right, screen two. All right, give it a second. It's loading up. Four computers, am I right?
Yeah, man.
Okay, I see that spinning. So,
See a file name? I like to see that. Hey, there we
I
go.
there
oh,
we
I was about to
go.
say I have mine pulled up if we wanted. I pretty much the
Hold.
same thing.
Yeah, geez. All right. So I'm assuming this is where we're talking about the
Yeah,
refactoring
that kind of
stuff.
stuff in there.
Yeah. So I just want an example of one of them because I know it's probably going to be on this backstage one because or the even the conjured ones because obviously sulfurous is pretty cut and dry. It's like quality is going to be the same no matter what.
Okay.
But for some of these others, yeah, that's what I'm looking
All
for.
right. So let's look at the one line 74 and line 75.
Okay.
So what you have going on here is like this one else if that has a bunch of else ifs inside of it. You can
Right.
flatten those out into the top level if you just combine the conditions. So, for example, um, if item category is backstage, also use triple equals. Always triple equals, not double equals.
Okay.
If item category is backstage and item or object dot item sell in is greater than 10, then do
Upgrade.
this.
Oh
And
wait, I
then,
put
then
a
you'd have
quote there.
another condition that you would else if off of that. Yeah, there you go. That's that
Okay.
next one.
So then this one goes here now because we've already used that. And then so the else ifs would then chain from here, right?
Yes.
Item category is equal to backstage and object item sell in is less than or equal to 10 as well with an and
Yes.
object item sell in is greater than 5, and then
Yes.
we open that up and then
There you go. So you're on track now. When you have else cases in
ah
those are usually none of the things in there. So it matches like the outer condition, but doesn't need to match any of the other inner ones. That's what else is in that situation.
okay. See, that's what I thought you meant, but then I was like, but then it's not as neat. Like you have the sulfurous, you have the conjured, you have the backstage,
No.
but
So okay, what we're doing is we're trying to flatten it out.
okay.
Because that like hierarchy, it seems like it's easy to follow, but
Uh-huh.
you've made like 100 little like bees nests that like things can hide in.
Okay.
There's a ton of complexity that gets hidden in that. And when you flatten all those things out, also, then you start finding like, oh, huh, I guess these two situations really are kind of the same. You start finding
Hmm.
things that you can take out of the conditions and different ways to combine those. Because the fundamental problem, the thing that we're really trying to do is reduce the amount of branching logic. This
Right.
makes the branching logic that we have a lot more straightforward and like easier to debug and stuff. Ideally, we want to get rid of branching logic altogether. And so the techniques for how we do that probably beyond this course, but that's what I talk about in that talk I've linked a couple times called Coding Without If Statements. So dictionary lookup, dynamic dispatch, those achieve the same things as if statements, but they don't actually increase your cyclomatic complexity at all. And so, you know who actually totally fucking nailed that is Tiffany. If you talk to Tiffany about how she did her like strategies approach for this, she can point you in the right direction for how you can do a lot of this like same kind of like breaking apart the logic into smaller pieces with functions and objects instead of if statements.
Okay, gotcha. See, yeah, I did at one point think of doing like functions for each of like the categories, but um, I thought this might be an easier way to go about it. But I'll definitely get with Tiffany and ask her how she did it and look at her code, get some ideas for the future. But
Yeah,
I feel like I'm in
this
for a
is
penny
step
here.
one. Flattening all this
Yeah.
logic out is step one.
Right. Okay, cool.
I have a question, if
Yeah.
you don't mind leaving your code up. So call me
Yeah.
crazy here, but could you also put that age statement also on line 76? Since they're all, or what is that, line 74? Since they're all going up by +1. Can you have it be backstage and greater than 10 and age?
Yes.
Or we could do, well, this would have to be or, right? You said
Yeah.
object, the item category. Oh, hold on, excuse me. This has to be or here.
Right. And so like that is as like a general rule, and this is the case with like all Boolean logic, you can just file this one away in your head. When we use ands, we make stuff harder to satisfy. When we use ors, we make stuff easier to satisfy.
Right. So the reason why I would say or is because it could be either of these here, and
Right.
you'd still go up by one. But
Yeah.
obviously, the item sell-in doesn't apply to aged brie because the only, I guess, restriction on brie is that it can't go beyond 50 in the quality.
Totally.
So
Okay, and so next piece of advice on this, if you try to do this entire refactor in one go, you will basically have to restart this over. So
okay.
work in small pieces, like back out all the stuff that you did, make sure that you've got it working, and then like extract one of these out, and then make sure it's still working, you didn't break anything, and then do one more, and then do one more.
Okay.
Because like otherwise it is so easy to do like 10 of these at the same time and then oh no, it doesn't work. All right, which of the 10 things that I did actually broke it?
Right.
Seems
Exactly.
like you're moving really slow, but this is one of those like starting feels fast, finishing is fast kind of things.
Roger that. All right, I'll fire up the light server, stop screen sharing, and get to work on that. But thanks for showing that example. It just
Absolutely.
needed a starting point.
Cool. What else we need?
That's what I was here for too, so I'll work on that as well.
Parnell,
I
what you
came
got?
in late. I don't know if mine would fall out of it, but just a little help refactoring.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Sweet. And I know I came in yet again late. I don't want to cut off
You're
Parnell
fine,
if
you're
he
fine,
had something
man.
more important. All right, cool.
Parnell, are you just here
No.
kicking it?
Yeah, I'm just here to be
All
nosy.
right, cool.
Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Okay, so far I'm doing an okay job trying to get this all done. Took your notes, burnt my previous submission,
Nice.
and rebuilt this entire quality checker, and it came out way cleaner.
Excellent.
The only thing that is still like a nested if chain is here for my backstage passes right now. And if I try to take it out and put it into a function, it breaks my entire inventory system. I was curious if maybe we might be able to work through that.
Yep. So let's take the easiest one on here, which is lines 87 and 88.
Okay,
So you have
87.
an if statement, and then you have another if statement inside of that, and then nothing else to check against. So that one is like a home run, just combine them. So if you take the conditions in line 88 and then and them to the conditions on 87.
see here. Let me try to clean this up a little bit so I can see it better. Okay. So if we take the condition of 88 and
Yeah. So just copy and paste the stuff inside of your if condition.
yeah, into the line 87.
Bingo. Right there and it.
All right.
Cool. Now delete the conditional on 88 and 90.
And we could probably get rid of that return as well.
No, like
Okay.
by deleting that inner conditional, this is the exact same code as what you had before. And that's what refactoring is. We want the same like outcome, the same behavior, different implementation. Because you still need to do that return. It just isn't two nested ifs. It's one compound condition.
Right. And we can see that there.
So like
There.
really the other one that you have is all these nested ifs in that you have highlighted there. So you can take each of those and flatten them so that it's like if name includes backstage passes and sell by is less than 10 and sell by is greater than 5, then do this. Or if name includes backstage pass and it's less than 5 and it's greater than 1, then do this.
So
That's how you
what
flatten
I
it.
can do is do ands separated by ors for each of these. Okay. That sounds like it could get messy if I take a wrong step.
Yeah, so you got to work in baby steps, and those are all ands. A nested if is an and. Because
so
it needs to meet this condition and it needs to meet this condition.
Cool. So we went ahead and we just copy and pasted our first one, and that's going to have this return, and we can get rid of our brackets. Okay. So the question there is that we have our first and.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And
So
it's
now
gonna
you have
be-
another condition. So now you have another else if at the same level as 43. Or 73.
Right, that's where we're getting this red. I mean,
Right.
if I take that out.
So that one's
Right.
also going to be an else if. It's just not going to be nested.
Oh, I see. So, sorry guys, I'm just a little lost in my own stuff here. Let me see if I can clean this.
So that one's also going to be else if.
Else if.
But
Right.
that condition that you had nested before, you're just going to copy and paste it in. So that was your item name includes backstage passes.
Right. Okay.
So that becomes a part of that condition now also.
I see. And it's an else if that's part of the larger else if, not the.
Bingo. So we have
Okay.
fewer levels of hierarchy on it. It's all just at one level.
Right. So instead of trying to make it overly complicated, we'll just bracket off that else if. Then we move into the next else if. And rather than it being nested.
Right.
I see
Now it
now.
just also gets that backstage pass thing. And so
Right.
this goes to, for everybody who's working on this kind of refactor. The thing that's complicated about this is a little bit less the logic of it and more just like there's literally a lot of characters. That's something that functions can help with. So if that entire condition was is backstage pass with medium sell or whatever, and like the body of that function is just that check and it comes back true or false, that does a lot to just sort of pull some of that bulk out.
So one problem I'll run into, I can already foresee it happening, is that part of my if chain that was nested previously did have this safety in it,
Yep.
which made it so that if it's backstage passes, then +1. So now this, instead of just being an else, turns into an else if,
Correct.
and we reinsert our backstage pass condition.
Ding, 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 ding. Because now it made it past all of those other ones, which were your specific criteria. So it went through all of those and didn't match. And so this is, all right, well, if it at least matches backstage pass, That's your default condition.
Okay, cool. And then that can just go ahead and it auto reformatted. Okay. Cool.
Now you've got some flat logic.
Nice. That's super clean. And let's see if all of my formulas still hold up. End of day goes down. Age free goes up. And backstage pass at 13. 12, 23, that's fine. Dot. Goes to 10. And now it should go up by 2. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Very nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right. Question number 2.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. First, let me back my JavaScript up because I broke it by omitting a bracket somewhere. So let me just back it up real quick. Okay. Wait. Okay. I don't have errors anymore. All right, I'll share my screen.
All right.
There was another thing I got on my feedback where we discussed that, or you left me a note saying that in the Gilded Rose,
Yep.
sulfurous selin doesn't change with the date. Maybe make it not have one.
Yeah.
I have a proposed solution, and I
right.
wanted to see what your opinion was.
All right.
So if soon as I put anything with sulfurous into the item name, what's going to happen, it's going to hide the selin box
Okay.
and no longer require it to require as an input. And then when you add, it just defaults to 0. I was wondering if that was okay.
Totally.
Yeah? Okay,
No,
sweet.
it was just weird to say, you have to sell this in 2 days. And a day goes by and goes, you have to sell this in 2 days.
Yeah, right. I thought so. I just didn't know if you wanted this to say like NA as a string, which,
I don't care.
yeah. Okay, cool. I feel like I had another
Make your life
question. Yeah, no, we're good. I feel like I had another question, but I forget, so it'll come to me. For now, I'll just stop sharing and go back to mute and think.
All right. Anybody else have one?
I remembered.
All right.
Okay. So, I know an alternative to if else is case or switch case.
Sometimes.
So, right, sometimes. So my question was, in this case, I'm working with an object that has multiple properties. Usually when I see switch case, I see like, only one variable they're working with, like, a grocery item, case tomato, case papaya, etc.
Mhm.
I probably can't use switch case here when I'm working with an object and I'm referencing multiple properties, like, the name, or the category, the name, the cell, and the quality. Or can I? Because if I can, I might try to write this as switch case instead of if else.
So you can. It's a hack, though. It's a hack that
Right.
works in every language that has switch statements, though. And I'll tell you what it is. You're welcome to try.
Okay.
It's kind of a clever one. It turns the switch statement inside out. So let's say I was writing this as a switch statement. It would ordinarily be like switch tax code case is 1150L. Then it's that one. Or it's ST. It's that one. And then otherwise we default to that. Okay, so we've replaced that if else with this switch. Now you're right though, it is like it is just going off of one value. The hack is to switch off of true. And then these need to be values that will be compared against true, but they can be expressions. So it could be something like tax code equals that. Because what it'll do is it'll evaluate this expression and see if it matches the thing we're switching on, which is the Boolean true. So if that's true, that's considered a match, and it runs this block of code.
Ah, that is clever.
Yeah, isn't that kind of weird? So since we're doing that, now this can be whatever. So these cases could be things like case something completely unrelated. Salary is greater than 0, and then you can do whatever. So that's a way to do that. I don't know that actually like makes your code more clear if you do that instead.
True. And that's kind of what I was figuring, but I figured I'd ask since,
That is the trick
that is
for
cool.
like hacking a switch statement into doing whatever you want.
Awesome. Good to know.
Yeah.
I think that's all my questions then for now.
That was a good one. I think in like 8 years and 800 students, I think only one other person's ever asked me that before. So rarefied air. Awesome. Gents, anything else? All right, I'm going to call it then. Good study hall. Cheers.